so thankful to have you on. And the year was 1985.
Yeah. Oh, what a year it was. Oh.
Oh. Well, yeah.
The greatest year we were born in. That was the year we were born?
You weren't even born then, were you?
Yeah, that's when we were born. And so we're 90s kids. That's kind of how it all came about, this podcast.
Yeah.
So.
I was second year high school.
Okay.
In 85.
Second year. So that's what would that be, like grade 10 or whatever?
Grade 10. I was grade 10. Yeah, I started in 84. The same year I saw my first big venue concert, which was U2, the Unforgettable Fire Tour.
U2.
But 85,
that's a large
85,
one.
I graduated to grade 10. First serious kiss with my first girlfriend, who was in grade 9.
Ah.
I was dating a minor niner. First kiss in the stairwell. Yeah, that happened in 85.
Hey, nice. Big year for all of us.
Really big year, apparently.
Big
for everybody.
year.
Oh, man. Awesome.
But what a decade that was. Great decade.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the premise behind the podcast. We were both born, like we grew up together. We've known each other forever. So we're both born in 1985, of course. And one day that was what came in my mind, and here we are. Podcast.
A podcast.
I sense an Eastern accent.
Yes. Yeah, we're from Newfoundland originally. We're in Alberta.
Oh, is that where you guys are?
Yeah, well,
right
we're originally from there. We both live in Grand Prairie, Alberta, but originally from the East Coast.
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. Fantastic, guys. Oh, so you're in Alberta right now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Grand Prairie. Okay, you're, is that 2 hours behind?
2 hours, yeah.
Yeah.
From where I am? Yep, okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, sorry, that makes sense. Because you were saying, Sam, I think you were saying you were working.
Oh, yeah, I just got off work at 5.
You had to get home. I was thinking at first, oh, he works pretty late like me. But it makes sense now. You're a little behind.
Yeah, we're a couple hours behind you, so yeah.
Time zone. Yeah.
The goods.
Yeah, that's it. So, like I said, we're 90s kids, and you're a huge part of that. Like we grew up Much Music kids. We were Much Music fans every single day after school. I mean, so like I said, it's a great honor to have you on here chatting
Ryan,
with you.
My pleasure. You did the same thing I did when I was your age as a teenager. Even before that, growing up in the 80s, the mid 80s, 84 is when Much started. So I was doing the same thing you guys were doing in the 90s, I guess.
That's right. Yeah, I mean,
as young Canadians, Much Music was the staple back in the day in the 80s and 90s. So yeah.
Oh yeah.
It made sense to tune in there.
That's the only thing we had, I think, for a connect to the outside world, right?
Yeah.
We grew up on a small, well, kind of a small island.
Yeah.
We felt like we were isolated in where we were, so
right.
It was a great reach out towards the real world, and it's like get to see like everyone's experience.
Toronto
and all these big artists coming in and stuff like that.
Oh, sure.
So.
And Toronto felt like LA to us in a way, right? Because it was the entertainment kind of capital of Canada, especially at that time. Especially when especially into the 90s when the VMAs kind of started getting bigger, badder. It was kind of like that vibe, especially from afar, like us trapped on this on the island trying to get out to see something. But yeah, it was cool. It was awesome. And I mean, huge part of our growing up, humongous. Part of our growing up.
I can relate. I'm from Hamilton originally, so you're right. Toronto was that like that sort of like untouchable as a teenager. We didn't go in a lot as teenagers. We went in once in a while on the GO train, but you're right. Toronto was like that LA, that New York for us as well. So to finally get there and win that contest and be part of that daily occurrence of interviewing bands or heading out on the street to talk to the Much Music viewer, it was a special thing. It really was.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So obviously you were a big fan, used to watch it all the time as well.
All the time.
You seen the contest come up, the Temp contest, and you entered it twice, if I'm not mistaken. Yes,
I did, Ryan. I entered it back in '93. The first year they had it running. But I wasn't thinking, on a little piece of paper, I jotted down 25 words, my 25 words, why I had to be the perfect temp, but that wasn't going to get you in there for the summer and beyond. So the next summer in 94, I was in my last year at university, studying phys ed at Brock and St. Catharines. And I thought, I got to put a lot more into this creative entry of mine. So yeah, it was right before the final exams in April, and I locked myself in my parents' basement, and I worked on my project that was a lot different than my 93 entry, that's for sure. It was like, 50 yards long. I airbrushed it was a stenciled statement. We had 25 words or less to explain to the Much Brass why we would be the perfect temp. So it wasn't like we had like video cameras or anything like that. It wasn't really about that back then. Now it's all about that, with YouTube and social media. But back then it was words. It was the magic of words and how we used our words, because 25 words to explain something this substantial, if you think about it, Sam and Ryan, that's not a lot of words to use. So I combined and incorporated some of the show names that were on Much Music at the time, and that was my banner. Yeah, I think I posted it because it's still in my dad's basement in Hamilton. I posted it like a few weeks ago because it was like the 30th anniversary of me actually sending it into Much Music. It brought back a lot of memories. It was very nostalgic to see that there in my dad's basement, all damp and moldy. Yeah,
so I definitely seen that reel because I thought it was funny. Because what was it? You popped out of it or what? I can't even remember now.
No, it was like a huge fold-out Much Music sign.
Oh, that's right. Yes, it was a big sign. That's right. Yeah,
big sign. I had helium balloons lifting up the sign.
That's what it is. Yeah.
But the cherry on the cake, it was the M shape of the M Much logo. Back then, it was an M shape, right? It wasn't the globe yet, so. Yeah. It wasn't until we got in trouble by, MTV, because they had the M-shaped logo as well. So we had to change our M shape to the globe. But yeah, it's still standing. It's in my dad's basement still. Yeah.
Did you get that back, or did you find it while you were in the studio and then you brought it back home?
Oh, that's a good question, actually. Did I find it when I was there? I think you're right. I think I would have found it in the summer of 94, because again, in the summer of 94, I was at the Temp. I was just there for July and August, and I was back home in September in Hamilton. So I think they still had it hanging around in the Much promotion office. So I made sure I grabbed it.
Yeah, that's definitely a keepsake for sure. You want it.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that set it right up, right? I mean, you got that Temp. I mean, the Temp name sticks. How do you feel about that? The Temp.
Yeah,
that was my next question.
You're right, man. Winning that contest changed my life. It changed my career path in life. So yeah, having a handle like Rick the Temp, there are worse handles out there, but it's how I would sign, because I was a receptionist as well after the whole temp thing went to bed, and that was long gone. I had come back as a part-time employee, and one of my first main jobs was a receptionist, because the main receptionist took a leave of absence for 3 months. So they hired me on to answer all the phones, and I would leave the messages for Denise or Dave or whoever it was as Rick the Temp, because they all knew me as Rick the Temp for those prior 2 months of July and August. And I thought, if I just sign Rick the Temp, they'll know who the message is coming from. If I put Rick Campanelli, they're gonna who's this Campanelli guy? Yeah. So it was a good handle to have, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to take that one to the grave with me, Rick the Temp. Yeah.
He does have a last name, folks. It's Campanelli.
There's a last name. And my parents were so proud when I started using my last name, like maybe 4 years down the road. I think it was like maybe 99, early 2000s. I started using Rick the Temp. Campanelli. There's a long Italian last name. So I made them proud that day. Oh, yeah.
Nice. So when you, at the end of that summer, July, August, did you have something lined up that you were going to be coming back, or did you have to make that conscious decision that you were going to kind of stray away from the education route and then go into full-time, you wanted to do that?
I had applied to massage therapy school, because it was either going to be a teacher or going to do some sort of physiotherapy, massage therapy. So I had already applied to a school in Toronto. I got accepted. I just hadn't paid my tuition yet. and then I win this contest, and there's some leads, and one job turns to another job and a part-time job and volunteer work, and there's a lot of that. And I just wanted to spend as much time in that magical TV environment that I could. So I put the massage therapy on hold. I put the teaching on hold, going to teachers college. That was an option. And I just ran with the opportunity to stay at Much Music, doing all these jobs that nobody really wanted to do. But I said, I'll do them because I just want to stay here. I don't want to go anywhere else. I love what I'm doing here. I love the environment. I love the atmosphere. The people are great. It's music. I was living music back in the day. So yeah, it just parlayed into the VJ gig, which I'm very, very grateful for.
Was there or was there not a Nissan 200 SX prize at the? Did you get that or no? Did you drive that?
Well, the prize that I won in '94 was a Geo Tracker.
Oh,
the Geo Tracker. Remember the Geo Tracker with soft top?
Yeah.
I would take it down every day, and put it back up. It was hard. It wasn't just a push button convertible.
You had to take it off.
You had to physically. It was a lot of work, actually. Yeah, but awesome. I got the hang of it. I got the hang of it in late August. But no, it was the Geo Tracker. It was a little bit of cash. It was a place to stay in Toronto. In downtown Toronto for those 2 months. And of course, the best part of it all was getting to work at Much Music. Getting the foot in the door at the nation's music station was the cherry on top of it all.
That's awesome. So take us to you win. Now you got to do it. So tell us what was the first couple days like for you, especially not coming from a broadcast background.
Yeah, no, not at all. I knew nothing about broadcasting, journalism, TV. No way. I had never been in front of a camera in my life. So the first little while, it was pretty easy. I'm not going to lie. You win a contest, they're not going to put you to work from 9 to 5. It's not like that. You win a contest, you get to come in around 10, 11, hang out in the environment. Video flow starts at 11:30 with French Kiss, and then at noon is the English video flow with the VJs, which went up until around 6 o'clock. So I'd be there around 11, hang out until around 4 or 5. If there were some bands that were coming in, I'd definitely be there for the bands because I was all about live music and the bands.
Nice.
And just getting a glimpse of my musical heroes. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't work. It was just more hanging out. And that was the best part of it all. Not everyone is invited to Much Music on a daily basis, Sure, we had our audience members for MOD or the Live at Much's or the I&Is that came in, but here's a kid from Hamilton that wins this contest, and it's like winning the golden ticket. I get to be there every hour of every day if I wanted to, and I wanted to. Don't get me wrong, I wanted to, but it was also a bit of a culture shock for me going from Hamilton, now living in downtown Toronto. They did give me a little bit of cash, so I was out at night all the time going to see live music because in Toronto there's live concerts, there's music every night, in every club and every bar. So in Hamilton it didn't get that good, especially with well-known bands that came to Toronto because everyone stopped in Toronto. So it was fantastic. It was a great 2 months. It's the 2 months that changed my life. I was 24, had my university degree under my belt, could always fall back on that if I wanted. But here's this kid from Hamilton making the move to the big city, living his dream. Like I'm living rock and roll. I'm there, meeting these bands, seeing these bands, and I was in heaven. It was heaven for those 2 months. It really was.
Yeah, you'd really want to just be a sponge, hey, and just absorb everything you could. I mean, you were took a little while for you to get on TV regularly, but how did you prepare when you got that final call up to Video Flow, and how did you prepare and you just research on anyone? I mean, this was pre-internet, I guess. So bands that were coming in, you just I guess you would just absorb everything you can from albums and magazines, I suppose.
Yeah,
but
that's the thing. Back in the day, it was albums, it was liner notes. I subscribed to two of the biggest musical publications that there ever will be, perhaps still going strong, Rolling Stone magazine, and Alternative Press, which I don't know if is around these days, but I subscribed to those. I would read up on every band that released a video. At Much Music back in those days, we had these filing cabinets, and every band that submitted videos had a file, whether it was an indie band or Duran Duran. Those are the two extremes. So you had all the information on that artist, on that band in this filing cabinet, and I would hang near that filing cabinet just to do all my homework, my research. So yeah, you're right. It wasn't overnight that it happened, going on air. It took me a good year and a half, but I studied what the VJs were doing. Well, first of all, I knew what the VJs did from '84 because I tuned in religiously, 10 years prior to even setting foot in that place. So I knew their styles. I knew what they were all about. They were so entertaining. At first I watched much for the videos, but as the years went by, I tuned in to see what the VJs were up to because they were always so entertaining, all of them. My faves were Steve Anthony, Michael Williams, Erica M. I'm going way back now. Master T, of course, was in there, but these were geniuses in the world of music. I got to travel Canada with them last fall on the tour for the doc, the Much Music doc, 299 Queen Street West. So I got to see them in action. Now, unfortunately, a couple of them had gone by the time I had gotten there, but watching them on TV, seeing the ones in real life that were still there, like Steve and Master T and Erica M. So yeah, you learned on the spot. It was like, you're there, you're watching them do their thing. Well, now it's time for you to do your thing. You don't want to be exactly the same because you're not hired to be like Master T or like Steve Anthony. You're hired to be Rick Campanelli. So, like I said earlier, Ryan and Sam, I lived, ate, and breathed music back in the day. Like, as a teenager, I knew everything. My thumb was on the pulse. Not these days because I'm 54 now, but back then, I lived for music more than anything else. I loved music, all genres. So when it came time to go on air, to make demo tapes, to get the opportunity to even be seen by Denise Donlin and to stand out, well, I knew what I was talking about. I wasn't comfortable in front of a camera, that's for sure. That took some time. But I think they saw that I was so knowledgeable when it came to the music. And it was all about the music back in those days. Not, when I left, it wasn't about that at all. It was more about pop culture and reality shows and all that nonsense. But back then, when I was hired, it was all about the music. And if you knew your music, you were in.
That's amazing. Yeah. No, it's great, and it is sad that Much Music kind of got caught up in that pop culture kind of reality. It's just the way it was, I guess.
Went. Right? Yeah, it was. That was becoming more popular, and the Much Music viewers were craving more of that. As a viewer back in the 80s, you both back in the 90s, we wanted our music. Give me the latest video that Hype Williams made for $2 million, that Missy Elliott, whatever artist he was working for. That's what we were into. But then there was, as the days and years went on, and I'm talking maybe, mid 2000s, we were so overwhelmed with so much going on in the world with the introduction of these devices, the internet. There's so much going on, YouTube. So yeah, it was less about the music, and which was ironic because it's called Much Music.
Yeah.
And it got to be all about reality TV, pop culture shows, and they dropped the music part, and it was just called Much.
Yeah.
After I left. So it's really strange.
Yeah, no, and like I was a viewer who enjoyed seeing the chemistry between VJs, like
same here.
The whole live
here.
thing, like always live kind of feeling. Like there's people walking by, streaming, whatever. You can come to the window, you can ask a question, like that kind of stuff. Like that was really what made it. Like that's what I always found was the best part. Like yes, I liked the music and all the other stuff, but it was informative. Right. It was fun. You could tell you guys were having fun for sure. Like that definitely came through. So like,
we really were.
Oh, you can tell. You can see it like on everybody's face. Like even the people at the controls kind of thing. And people, everybody looks like they're having fun. People walking by are having fun. And you get to poke your head out and stick a microphone in their face kind of thing. And, like that's so cool. Like that's I don't know. It's to me, that's wicked. Right?
It's
like,
very raw and organic. It's very real, right?
Oh, yeah. It's like a live concert like at all times almost. Like it feels like you're caught up in a live thing.
It really was, and it was not scripted. It was not rehearsed. It was, flying by the seat of our pants. It was, the camera started rolling. We're on. Okay, let's talk about the new Green Day video. Let's talk about, Nickelback coming to town next week to perform at the Rogers Center, whatever it was. It was always live off the cuff. And the best days were, you're right, you said it, Sam, when we got to go outside to Queen Street or John Street and just, mingled and caught up with the Much Music fan that loves music as well. And so just having a conversation with them leading into a video, it was part of our daily ritual.
Did you find, like speaking on all this stuff now, like, because I know you're the same way, like you kind of wanted to know the history, the background, the people involved in the music, the video, the whatever, you wanted to know a little bit of everything. Do you find now, especially that you're kind of still in the interview world to a certain degree and stuff like that, do you find people are as interested as they used to be in that kind of stuff?
Oh my gosh. I don't think so.
Yeah, well, I agree. I feel like people aren't.
So much more to be interested in. Like we're so overwhelmed on a daily basis with what's going on our phones. That's for sure. Not to say it's a bad thing. Like people are into different things, but back then, I was into music. People that would come up to the window were into music. People that would take tours of Much Music, they wanted to know about the music, like so that was all that we had to deal with back then. And it was almost like a one-trick pony in a way, because music is what we were called, Much Music, and music is what we gave you. But as the years went by, there were so many other things that caught our interest. So I get why the Canadian youth that were watching Much Music were into other things. I don't call it a negative thing. I just call it just wasn't my thing. It wasn't our thing. It was their thing. Yeah. And if they were into it, that's cool. I wasn't into it. And that's why I started planning my exit route, because it wasn't the same Much Music that I had signed up for back in 94 when I first entered the contest. It wasn't that same Much Music that I tuned in to watch J.D. Roberts and Christopher Ward smash through that sign. It wasn't the same place. My Much Music had gone away, and the newer generation, I guess you could say, like mid 2000s, 2008, 2010, in there, 2015. It was for them. It was that youth of Canada. It was their Much Music. So, but yeah, different times. Change is good. I do like change. Change is a good thing. But I'm going to sort of continue to go down my path, and if it's not something that I'm interested in or something that I like, well, I'm going to take a left at the next street and try to find my way again, times were changing in those mid 2000s, right? So I guess it probably wasn't as hard as I would have thought it was to make that decision to leave. And no, not at all. It was tough because it was the only full-time job that I knew out of university, and it was the only career that I had signed up for that I was kind of successful at. And you meet these people, like you said, that are part of the crew. They become family, these are the people that I see on a daily basis, and we were passionate about music. So leaving that place, it was tough. I cried on my last day. I didn't know anything else, but I did know that I was going to another franchise that It's probably bigger than Much Music if you think about it in North America. Like Entertainment Tonight is one of those juggernauts of a entertainment news program show that's been around for, before Much Music. I don't know. I think maybe late 70s. Mary Hart and the
John
crew
Tesh.
then, they were doing John Tesh. That's right.
Yeah, that's been around for like a really long time.
I knew I was in good hands with that franchise. So it's kind of a bittersweet, right? When you're leaving one place, going to another place, it's like almost like the fear of the unknown, but still you kind of know what to do when you get to Entertainment Tonight. It's the granddaddy of all the entertainment shows, and it was kind of neat.
You mentioned 299 Queen Street. Was it nice catching up with all the old gang when that was on premiere?
It was magical. It really was magical. Working on the film with Sean Menard, the director, and then going down to Austin, Texas to see it for the first time at South by Southwest. That was a treat. That was amazing. And then, of course, the Canadians, didn't get to see it until 6 months later, because that was March, maybe even more than that. September was the first showing in Toronto at Roy Thompson Hall, just after TIFF that year. That was amazing. So that's when I got to see all the VJs for the first time in a long time, like Erica and Steve and Michael and Bill was there, and Sukyin was there, Denise Donlin was there, Monica Diol was there. It was really something to see everybody again on a red carpet, which was specifically made for Much Music and the Much Music alumni. So it was really special.
Yeah, no, you guys really deserve that. You need to get the flowers because you made such a huge impact.
It's a huge impact. Yeah.
I'm just sad that us fans didn't get to see it.
I'm a little disappointed.
You know what I mean? It didn't come out.
Well, it's still in the works. I had a chat with the director Sean Menard a couple weeks ago, and it was supposed to stream on Crave.
October, I think,
just a couple months after it did the tour. That got pushed back, and he told me the reasons why. It's like the music companies in this country are still sort of fighting Sean with music rights. Although Sean went down all the proper roads and got all his T's crossed and I's dotted in terms of legal. But record labels, they want their portion of things.
Oh yeah, they want their cut of meat every time.
But Sean was very optimistic in telling me that 299 Queen Street West will debut on Crave very, very soon, and it would be a shame if the record labels held it off. It wouldn't be right. It wouldn't be fair to Canadians, because this is a part of Canadian culture, Canadian heritage. If you think about it, like Much Music was a big staple for a lot of us growing up in this country. Not the youth of today, because they didn't witness and experience what we did. So everyone wants it to see the light of day. Especially Sean Menard, who spent 6 years putting it together.
Wow.
So you guys and Canada will see it eventually. We just have to be a little more patient. And I can't wait for it to be streaming. It's a 2-hour trip down memory lane like no other. You'll learn a lot too, and you'll see a lot of the old footage, and visually, that's all you see. It's old footage. You don't see us in present day. You just hear our voices, but all the visuals are edited together from the Much Music archives, which was brilliantly done by Sean. So, I hope you like it when you see it for the first time. Maybe I can come on again and we can chat about it. But 299 Queen Street West.
We're gonna hold you to that one. We're gonna hold you to that, Rick.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
No, Sean is a great filmmaker. His Vince Carter documentary was amazing. Yeah, he's great, so great at what he does, and I think we truly deserve, like you said, to to experience that over again, because
yes.
it would be, it's all near and dear to our hearts, right? This is how we grew up.
Yeah.
We talked about that documentary, I think, on so many podcasts.
Oh, yeah, man. 10.
Right.
As soon as we found it out, we're pumping it up. We're like, this is coming out. And then all of a sudden we kind of just had the wind taken from our sails. So
it's really strange, because I remember back in the day, and not to slam the record labels, but the record labels, they made a lot of money back in the day with their artists, and I'm pretty sure the artists they did okay as well back then. I hope they did anyway. I was never in their world, but it's weird, like to this day, like mid-August 2024, the record labels are still being the way they were back then. I guess once a record label, always a record label.
Yeah.
And
the funny part,
they helped.
Music.
They helped a lot of artists out. But,
and it's 30-year-old footage and music, and
it's music, and it's not like, to me it's like, oh, you're promoting it. You're not even like, and you're doing them a service almost. Like, it's not even, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know how to explain it. It irritates me.
That's the thing. You're right, Sam. It's a big commercial for their artists. It's like, it's not like we're slamming them. We're continuing to promote their artists all these years later. Yeah. That's not a good thing. Like, exactly. You don't want the world to see that. So anyway, like, no, I've got no hard feelings with the record labels. Rabs, I became friends with a ton of them, but it's just business, I guess. And business is business. That's why I was never good at business.
It's funny how people look at it that way in money terms, and not in like, hey, how big of a boost in streams it would get now. Like, like
exactly.
Like,
it'll bring up things that you haven't heard really got a boost in streams for the last 15, 20 years potentially. It could be, the next, running up that hill kind of thing or whatever, right? So I don't know. It's interesting to me. I got a lot to say, but we'll keep that to another podcast.
Yeah.
No, so you made the switch, and it was a very, very quick turnaround from Much Music to ET Canada, right?
It was quick. I was actually still under contract with Much Music when I did my first interview with Alicia Keys in New York for ET Canada. It was weird. It was fast. I had no time off to just decompress and relax and go lie on a beach for a couple of weeks drinking, pina coladas. There was no time for that, because I had ended end of August 2005 at Much, and right around the corner was TIFF, and TIFF was their bread and butter at ET. Yeah. So I was thrown right into it, but now I'm not wearing hats off to the side and baggy pants, cargo pants with hoodies. Now I'm wearing like suits and Italian leather shoes, and I'm getting my hair cut. And it was really strange to be in that world. But I think I adjusted pretty well to that.
Yeah. I think so,
and, you had a super long career doing that as well, right?
So, I spent longer there. You're right. I 12 seasons at ET Canada. And I spent 11 years, including the Temp years, at Much Music. So it was a long run.
Like, how different was the day to day? I mean, Much Music had more of a free flow, and then was it, how often did you film for ET, and how busy were you through the week?
Well, the major difference was Much was live, the majority of it anyway, like 95%. ET was not live. None of it was live. So we filmed or taped, recorded during the day, and it would air, at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time.
Okay.
So they were two totally different days, that's for sure. Sitting in makeup for a while, going to wardrobe for a while, going to the studio for an hour, going for lunch, going back into the studio. It was a very easy, chill, not intense at all day. That ET Canada. And Much Music was like, okay, you're live in 5 seconds. Let's go. You're on. The adrenaline's pumping, so totally opposite, the two, but both fun. That's both awesome. Really fun.
So in terms of, we're talking about live events, of course, and whatever, but what are some of your most memorable live events? Like, and it doesn't have to be Much Music related, even just like because that's something I really enjoyed about everything. It was a live event stuff, right? Like, that's my favorite things. What's your kind of peak?
Same. Well, definitely the live at Much is the I&Is when the big bands were coming in, and I got to interview them. Like, those were some of my favorite moments. Obviously the trips like going to Rock in Rio, going to the Cannes Film Festival, going to these locations that are known around the world, and now I get to go there, and I'm assigned that to interview Leonardo DiCaprio or interview Iron Maiden at Rock in Rio. Those were very special to me. Like,
that's awesome.
Sure, I loved being in the studio is a fun thing, but going out to where the people are in the world, those were some cool moments for sure.
I can't not ask about Woodstock '99 either. If, like you said, for going out and into the world and interviewing, that was one hell of a place to go.
One hell of a world. That was Planet of the Apes. That was that world there. Woodstock '99, like, I wasn't around in '69. I was born 1 year later in 1970, but I heard all the stories of Woodstock, with Joni Mitchell and Jimi Hendrix and all those amazing influential bands that were there, Bob Dylan, of course. So to get to Woodstock 30 years later, I didn't go for the 25th anniversary because that was 1994.
94.
Yeah. I was just there as a temp and just hanging out, watching the footage come back. But to be there in 99, it started off as an amazing experience. These 4 days we're outside, the weather's perfect, all these bands that I'm into. Like, I was into every single James Brown opened it up.
Yeah, he kicked it off.
Man. The Godfather of Soul, man. Like, what a cool show to witness James Brown. And then, of course, the Hip are there, and, Rage Against the Machine are there.
Even Our Lady Peace was there, too.
Our Lady Peace. Yeah, that's right. They were there. Yeah. So, no, I was honored to be a part of that, to be on the VJ crew that went down there. It got a little messy towards the end.
It got a little out of hand,
But yeah, that's what happens when you mix, like, Rage Against the Machine, Limp Bizkit, Kid Rock,
Korn,
with a bunch of sweaty Korn. Don't forget Korn. That's right. And then you got
peak new metal performance. Do you know what I mean? Like peak new metal,
peak teen angst. So much teen angst in the crowd.
Yeah, so much of that, and so many angry teens in the crowd. Water wasn't cheap. Beers were flowing. So it's a mixture of all that, and unfortunately it got out of hand. But it started off as a beautiful experience, as the Woodstock of our parents' generation. It really did.
Because they had that documentary on Netflix, Trainwreck, and you were in that too.
Oh, sorry, guys. Oh, man. It's getting darker over here.
That's all right.
Yeah, Let there be light. Yeah.
Let there be light.
That's right. Somebody told me I was Trainwreck was coming out, and it was the story of the 99 Woodstock, and someone said, I think you're in it by the porta potties.
Yeah, sure are.
Yeah, that was my one assignment of that day, was go hang out by the porta potties, get some reaction, see what's going on down there. But yeah, it was a mess. It was a mess. But you know what? I didn't mind. Like, I don't mind things getting a little messy. It's all part of the experience. I lived in a mosh pit as a kid. I would, if I didn't crowd surf at a concert, I didn't fulfill my night. So that was my second home. Mosh pits were my second home. Getting dirty I was all about that. So yeah, so the Woodstock 99 up until that last night or the last couple nights when you started hearing there's more going on, and the things that are going on aren't good things.
Yeah.
That's concerning,
Yeah, it was. It did take a dark turn, unfortunate. Yeah, and a lot of a lot of shady things were going on amongst the crowd and stuff like that. Yeah. But I mean,
it's unfortunate because there was, like, even during the mayhem kind of thing, the reason there was mayhem because there technically were good performances, as weird of a point of view as that may sound, but.
Yeah.
If you point the camera in one direction, it looks like the best performance you've ever seen. You kind of turn it the other way, and it's like, oh shit, kind of.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It was a weird.
No,
thing.
I know what you're saying, Sam. I know what you're saying, because every one of those 200,000 people that were there, like, they were in to those performances. Yeah. You could see, like, everyone was into the moment, what was going on, and hey, that was a cool thing to see. You're right. But then when things start getting a little out of hand. It's like, no, that's not what we want here. We want to go back to where everyone's in unison and engaged in the performances and enjoying it, and everything's on the up and up, right? So that's what you always wish for. But when you put a crowd like that together, unfortunately to say, there's always going to be a little negative something going on, on the shady side of things, unfortunately.
Yeah, you can't put a country on an airstrip and then hope that nothing bad goes on. Really, like it's a couple 100,000 people in one place.
Yeah, you never know. Even Travis Scott's concert, shit happens, unfortunately, and maybe the only thing we can do is just learn from that.
Yeah, we can learn from that. And I think, honestly, to tell you the truth, I think more shit happens these days. Like, I would go to a ton of festivals back in the day. I was always going to music festivals. You didn't hear of a lot of bad things going on it was like all peace and love, like the original Woodstock. But lately and recently, you were hearing all these bad stories that come out days later, which is kind of scary, to tell you the truth. But it's just, it's not the same. It's not the same as it was. That's
maybe it's that social media age too, where everything is instant.
Yeah, and it feels like I think a lot of it feels like there's no consequence, right? You're behind a screen.
That's true.
Worst case, someone just types back at you, and if you got it's even a slightly thick skin, you're just like kind of, you move on, right? Like
it's so true.
Yeah,
no consequences. Yeah, you're right.
Or that's how it feels, right? Like, I mean, there is technically, they just don't see it. I feel like, but that's me, old man yelling at the clouds.
I think we're all in the same boat. Because back in the day, we didn't witness stuff like that at music festivals and much bigger ones. And now these days, we're hearing all these stories all the time. It's like it's a constant, negative story after negative story. But
no, it's
sad.
It is unfortunate, but that's. So I'm gonna change the pace. I don't want to hang up on.
Let's get on a positive note. Let's get it on a positive
note. Positive note here. You're at CHFI 98.1.
Yes.
How you doing there? I know, because you have a face for television. You know what I mean? Most people say they have a face for radio. I think you're the opposite. You're 50.
Apparently, I have one
going on 30 here.
No, it was an honor to be approached by CHFI. It's a legendary music station, radio station in Toronto. It's been around since the late 50s. So when I heard from CHFI, I was like honored. It truly was. I'll take that gig in a heartbeat. And it's Rogers. So with Rogers, they're a big beast. There's a lot going on there. And there's lots of TV opportunities as well. Yes, I started at CHFI maybe close to 5 months ago now, but there's been a lot more opportunity to get back onto TV by doing early morning breakfast television stuff. So, whatever they asked me to do, it reminds me of back in the day, like at Much Music as a temp. You want me to go fetch the coffee? I'll go do it. You want me to mop that corner because it got a little messy over there? I'll do it. So I find I'm back at that stage of life. Like, they're asking me to be prepared to do something for the air show next weekend. Okay, I'd love to do that. I don't like saying no to any opportunities. So I was talking to someone about this the other day. It's almost like I'm back at the entry level of things, which is kind of cool and exciting again.
Yeah, no, you're still the temp at heart.
Yeah. But I'll never shake it.
It is, though. It is when you have something new going on, you kind of get that exciting feeling, and
it's new and exciting
and fresh. And you can't say no to anything, fresh. Right? Like we're still kind of new to this as well, and we don't say no to anything. We just if he has an idea, let's go for it. If I have an idea, let's go for it. Like,
that's good.
And it's grown so much in the last year. We've only been doing this for a year or so, and
good for you guys.
Since we never had this stuff going on behind us. We never had Spotify or guests at all. It was just us kind of shooting the shit between us.
Gotcha.
Like I said, you got.
Well, that's.
Be willing.
That's the beauty about being creative and creating content, doing your own thing, not having any restrictions. And again, it all goes back. It reminds me of that guerrilla style approach we had at Much Music. Sure, there's lots of restrictions these days, but there's some element of that guerrilla style approach.
Oh, for sure.
Still to this day, with what we're all doing.
Yeah, and I think those limits put some add to the creativity, because you have to be more creative, right? Like that's how.
That's right.
Now that
That's
we're
right.
kind of doing it, like that's kind of how I see it. It's like, okay, well, with the boundaries, what do we do with it?
You're right. You got to think outside that box a lot. Yeah.
And I think that's kind of like our first full circle moment kind of thing, going back to you guys and Much Music, and kind of here we are giving it our good old college try kind of thing, right? Like, because it feels that same way. It feels that way to us.
Yeah. Of course it does. And I respect anyone that's gonna get in the ring and give it a shot. Like you're passionate. That's the best part about it. If you're passionate about something, climb the mountain, go for it, do what you got to do to make yourself happy in your heart and in your head. So that was my kind of approach back in the day. Like, I was passionate about things, and I didn't want to give up. I could have given up. We all could give up at any point, but it's not fun, because even if you get the answer no 10 times, well, I'm going to still try to, for that 11th time, because that 11th time, I might get that yes. I might get it. So, yeah, I never give up. Never give up. Even to this day, I'm 54. I still want to accomplish things. So,
awesome.
Yeah, it's not about giving up.
That's what I mean. Yeah, like, and we thought maybe it would have been a pipe dream or a long shot to have someone we looked up to all these years to join us and chat. You know what I mean?
Oh, no, yeah.
So, we love it. We appreciate it.
Well, I love chatting about not only the good old days, and the magic of those days, but I love chatting, socializing with people that have similar interests. And you guys hit the nail right on the head with what you're doing. It kind of reminds me too of how I started, and the good old days back in the mid '80s, moving into the '90s. But it's. Because a lot of the younger generation, people that we talk to, have no clue what we're talking about.
There is that.
We kind of have to entertain ourselves.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. We're not in it. We're not in it for the under 30s, I guess.
No.
Yeah, it's a tough sell for under 30 kind of thing, but that's okay. We got ourselves.
We have our demo we're going after.
You found your demo. Yeah, you found your demo. That's right.
We got it figured.
Would you ever consider doing your own podcast or something like that?
I would. I was going to, but once I started at Rogers at CHFI, they sort of have their own podcast department. So me and my team that were working on mine, it had to come to an abrupt end. But not to say I won't do one in the future with Rogers at CHFI. So yeah. But I find that I'm really busy right now with both radio and doing the TV in the morning. And then, I've got a family too that I love spending time with.
Right.
I got young boys that I want to be with, and a wife that I want to be with. So yeah, like, I've always thought about the podcast game, and maybe one day for sure. But I want to, like you guys are doing, I want to talk to people about their passions, and not just celebrities and not just well-known people, but I want to talk to interesting people and people that have something to say. So we'll see. I think there's a lot of time still. Podcasts aren't going away, as you guys know.
Certainly not. No.
They're very, very, very successful. So yeah, we'll see. Maybe one day.
Yeah, I'd love to see. I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, the history of Rick Campanelli.
Yeah,
the history of Well, a lot of the VJs have had podcasts. Like Erica M had a great one called "The Reinvention of the VJ," and I think she's put 20 together of all us old alumni VJs. I don't know if you got a chance to listen to it, but it's very good.
Nice.
And she talks to everyone from Steve Anthony to Sookie and Lee and Michael Williams, and George Stroumboulopoulos, of course, is on there too. So it's great stuff. It's great. You learn a lot of the behind the scenes stuff from VJ talking to VJ. It was very cool.
Yeah, because you might forget some things over the years where one person mentions something and it kind of makes you remember
exactly.
something.
Oh yeah, that happens on a daily basis. I'll run into someone that's, hey, remember when you were here with that band and I totally forgot, and it's like, yes, keep telling the story. I'm remembering a bit more with each and every detail you're telling me. So I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, because we talked to Bill Wilichka a couple of weeks ago, and he was a great guest as well.
He's a great guest, yeah.
So he was so gracious with his time, and so are you, and we can't thank you enough for
my pleasure,
for being on here,
Ryan and Sam.
Yeah,
it's awesome to be on with you. Thank you for having me on. I love talking about this stuff, and we'll definitely do part 2. Nice. One day when that doc comes out, when I've got something in the works I want to share with you.
Nice.
So when it comes time, let's do it again.
Absolutely. And shout out to nice Doug Gilmour shirt. I gotta mention that.
Oh yeah.
I'm a huge Leafs fan.
Are you?
I got Doug Gilmour up on the a wall behind me.
Yes.
So
well, and he won his only Stanley Cup out in Calgary,
right.
out in Alberta.
Yeah, 89.
He never did get one with Montreal or Toronto. So I was just at Doug's. He's got this annual golf tournament. And I was just there on Friday. Rick Vive was there. Cujo was there. Brad May was there. A lot of former hockey players.
Yeah, a bunch of beauties.
A couple of beauties.
It was a bunch of beauties. Yeah. But yeah. Oh, that's awesome that you recognize that. Yeah. Nice. One of my favorite hoodies.
That's awesome. It's nice. I think we'll let you go. I know you're a busy man here.
Yeah, get back to the.
All right, fellas.
I can't thank you enough again.
Yeah, thank you so much, man.
And we'll be taking you up on
Ryan.
part 2.
Pleasure, Sam.
Part 2.
For sure, we'll do a part 2
coming again. Oh yeah.
Okay. Nice to meet you guys.
Nice
Take
to meet
care.
you,
Thanks
Cheers,
for having
Rick.
me on.
Thank you,
buddy.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.